Bienvenuti everyone, and welcome to this episode of Anywhere with Kristen. My name's Kristen Herzog, and I'm so glad you joined me for this very important episode about the top 10 challenges I had trying to get my dual citizenship here in Italy through residency. As an Italian American, I qualify through my great-great-grandfather's bloodline to get my dual citizenship. But I wish it was as easy as taking a DNA test, going on to Ancestry.com, and getting a bunch of photocopies. Wouldn't that have been nice? So here's my backstory. For 2 years, I collected the appropriate documents necessary for me to apply for dual citizenship through Jure Sanguini, or by blood. I needed to collect from multiple government agencies every single birth certificate, marriage certificate, divorce certificate if applicable, and death certificate of each and every person in my bloodline, starting with my original ancestor, my great-great-grandfather Giovanni Anselmo. In addition to collecting all of those documents in the original long forms, I also had to get them legalized, notarized in certain circumstances, translated by an official government-recommended Italian translator, and apostilled, which is an international seal that is recognized across countries. That is a lot of work, guys. I found myself in Trenton, New Jersey in a government office so many times I stopped counting. But I was successful in getting every document and filling out all of the necessary forms. The next step was trying to get a consulate appointment with the Italian consulate in Philadelphia. Philadelphia area is where I live, so therefore I can only go through the Philadelphia consulate to get the dual citizenship if I try to do this in the United States. Bad news for me, I tried for a full year, every single Monday at 12 midnight Rome time and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time by trying to get a government appointment through the website. My husband, my son, and I would sit down every single Monday with all of our laptops, our tablets, our cell phones, and computers, all trying to get that coveted appointment, kind of like winning the lottery, which unfortunately I did not win. After a lot of thought and prayer, my husband and I decided trying to get dual citizenship through residency in Italy. This was a huge decision, guys, because the time, the expense, the distance, and the unknowns are quite risky. We decided we were going to try to do this because we had a very important invisible clock ticking. And that is, my son is 17 years old. And when he turns 18, he is no longer able to be grandfathered into my dual citizenship, but rather he would have to go through the entire process on his own. It was very important for me to get this done so that I could give him the gift of dual citizenship, allowing him to work in Europe or to go for educational purposes all the way up to a doctorate degree if he wanted one, for almost free anywhere in the Schengen zone of the European Union. We had this clock ticking, and so we decided in September of last year for me to go for it. Let's just say the experience of living in Italy has not been all roses. It is hard to move to a foreign country by yourself, and it's really not like a vacation when you live somewhere. You're doing laundry that takes 3 hours, or not having a dryer or a heater, or different types of things that you expect as an American in just doing life. So there were a lot of challenges, but I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of people I got to know who genuinely cared about me and wanted the best for me. And that really was the Dolce Vita. Let's get started with the top 10 biggest challenges I faced trying to get my dual citizenship here in Italy. Number 1, bureaucratic hassles. Guys, I thought I was prepped coming here. I had read all the documents many times. I had spoken to lawyers. I scoured people online who were doing dual citizenship also through residency in Italy. Let me tell you, No two dual citizenship journeys are going to look the exact same, which means that any checklists that are created are always up for question marks. So my original checklist that I had changed on a daily basis, and it was just a real challenge trying to figure out where to go for certain documents, what to do, where to sign them, and making sure I understood them at the same time. Number 2, endless documents. Guys, the documents required were unbelievable. All of the additional forms were so critical. And when I moved here to Sicily, there were even more documents, residency documents, additional forms that I didn't see before. And it was really, really incredible, the level of detail and hoops to go through. I remember early on that I was told that I needed to have a special stamp called a Marco di Bollo. It wasn't like I go somewhere and just get the stamp. I had to go to a tobacco shop, purchase the stamp, not take the stamp and put it on the document, but take it to a government office where another government employee takes the stamp, puts it on the document, stamps it again, and signs it. All of that before I take the same document to a different government office for processing. I mean, just endless forms and hoops. This is not for the impatient. You really have to be very, very dedicated and motivated to this because it will destroy you if you try to get this all done in a really short, easy peasy time frame. It just does not work that way. Number 3, language barriers. I'm at a B1 language, which means I can have a conversation about almost anything in Italian at this point, but I wouldn't be great at talking about religion or politics in an academic setting. It's just not that great. A lot of the documents that I signed, I didn't always know what I was signing. For example, I looked at a document one time and they said, this is for civics. And I said, okay, it's for civics. So I'm thinking, oh, it's something to do with like voting in the future once I get my dual citizenship. Actually, because I didn't look at the document, I realized once I got home that I had signed myself up for a 2-day civics class in another town that had no public transportation, that I needed to rent a car and get an Airbnb. Wow. Fortunately, it was a great town. Monreal is awesome. They've got a killer church there that is amazing, and I would highly recommend it if you're in Sicily. However, sitting in a plastic chair for 8 hours a day, listening to a video on a loop over and over again about a variety of Italian subjects was not necessarily stimulating or interesting. Challenge number 4, either very slow or very rapid appointments happening. For example, there is something that I like to call house arrest that happens for residency being approved in Italy. Basically what it is a certain branch of the police called the Vigili are required to come to your house and survey where you live and decide if you actually live there or not. What this means is that they want you to prove that you are physically residing in Italy at the time of your dual citizenship application process so that you can legally apply for this particular dual citizenship while you're here. You cannot have an Airbnb. You cannot stay in a hotel. You cannot come here on vacation for 2 weeks and expect to get this thing done. You physically have to have an apartment or a house, a contract, the whole thing. I was told house arrest. Try not to leave your house until the police come for you. It'll be sometime within 1 day and 40 days. I was like, 40 days? When am I supposed to go get groceries? What if the police come knocking at my door? Fortunately for me, while I was walking down the street the day after I submitted my documents, the policeman recognized me and pulled over on the side of the road and said, "Christina, can I come to your house tomorrow at 9 a.m. so that I can do your dual citizenship residency document?" I said, "Yes, I would love for you to come tomorrow at 9 a.m. Do you drink coffee?" And he said, "Yes, I do." I said, "Come on over, the coffee will be hot." Sure enough, he came at 9 a.m., he walked through the house, he stamped the document, he drank the coffee, and he was out in a half hour. Mission accomplished. It happened so quickly. Other things that I thought were going to happen very, very quickly or within a certain time period did not pan out. So many times I thought things were going to happen. I was sent to a government office only to find out, well, I'm at the wrong government office. You have to go to this office, but you can only go on Tuesdays at this time to this time, wear purple underwear, and make sure that you stand on your head. I mean, so many different things about different locations, going to different towns, taking public transportation by train, by bus to get to these different government offices. It's a lot. Number 5, feeling constantly in between. You know, getting dual citizenship in a place that is not your own country is an odd thing because you kind of are living one foot in the culture, but one foot out of the culture because you're really not overly familiar with all of the customs, the language, and the culture. One of the things that I have discovered through this particular journey I've been on is that being Italian American, being born, raised, living, working, going to school in America, regardless of having ancestry in Italy, the culture is just different. I am not an Italian by culture. And so there were many times where things would happen and I would kind of feel in betwixt and in between of a certain situation and trying to read the room. I have had multiple times where I've just had to kind of rely on my social intelligence to get the job done. That idea of feeling in between is not a pleasant feeling. It's not a homey feeling. For me, I just had to keep plugging away and say, you know what? Someday I'm going to get this dual citizenship thing done. Number 6, consulate limitations. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to go through my consulate in Philadelphia, which is an hour and a half from where I live there. Instead, I end up 5,000 miles away in Italy to do the same thing because we just could not get that appointment. Getting an appointment with the Philadelphia consulate for dual citizenship was arduous. And in my case, unfortunately, I was never successful in getting the appointment. The wait list was just too long. Just the idea of redelegating my responsibilities at home and moving over here was really, really something that was challenging. And fortunately, in my case, my son, my husband, my friends, people were really, really supportive of this venture. But it doesn't mean that it was easy. Having the resources to do it and do it correctly is very important. It's very, very hard to take shortcuts with this particular process. Consulate limitations were a huge challenge for me, as I know they are for many, many people. Fun fact. Did you know that if you try to get dual citizenship through Jure Sanguini through your local consulate, it could take anywhere from 3 months to 5 years? If you try to do it in Italy, the same process, it could take 3 months to 9 months. Huge difference. But you have to physically be residing in the country during the whole time. For some people, it's not an option, but it's very interesting that the consulates take so much more time than the folks here in the local comune. Number 7, and it is not a minor issue. This is a major issue, what I'm about to share. It happens to be called the minor issue. On October 3rd, 2024, the courts in Rome changed a very pivotal law on the books about dual citizenship through Jure Sanguini. Essentially, the person who originally migrated to America and naturalized to the United States, becoming a United States citizen, if he decided to do that official process prior to the next in the bloodline being 21 years old, the new law states that the line is cut, essentially meaning that people today could no longer get dual citizenship through their ancestry because of that singular law change. Talk about an incredible change in the process. You know, guys, it's so sad. So many people have invested countless dollars and hours running around getting documents. Some people were even on planes coming over here to get their residency and were told that they no longer could apply because their bloodline has been cut for the sheer reason that their original ancestor naturalized before the next of kin was an adult. The way to get around the minor issue is that, number one, that original ancestor never naturalized, and you can prove it through documentation, or the original ancestor naturalized after the next of kin was 21 years of age. This was a huge, huge deal. This is one that if you're considering doing dual citizenship, this is one of the number one things I would recommend you look at. What is the date on the naturalization document? And what is the date of your next in line's birthday? That is the key. There's the money right there. Number 8, name discrepancies. As a woman from America, I have done what most women have done in my country, which is I had changed my maiden name to my husband's last name or my married name. Here in Italy, however, when I got my dual citizenship recognized, the thing that was the sticking point was that women here in Italy who are recognized as citizens automatically take their maiden name. That means that I now have 2 names. In America, I'm Kristen Herzog, but in my Italian citizenship, I am Kristen Anselmo because that is my maiden name. In other words, if you get married, ladies, and you get divorced and then you get married again and you just have 5 husbands in the span of your lifetime, from cradle to grave, you will always have your maiden name unless there is some unusual circumstance preventing it. So what did this mean for me? For example, I had to go change my codice fiscale, or what I like to think of as a social security number. I had to change the name from my married name to my maiden name, and all of my official documents here in Italy have to have my maiden name. So name discrepancies are definitely a challenge. Other challenges with name discrepancies in my personal experience would have been my grandfather's name. He was known as Salvatore in some circles, but Samuel in other circles. Depending upon whatever document there was, I had to prove that this was indeed the same person. So name discrepancies, not impossible, but definitely a few more hoops to jump through to prove that you are who you say you are and that your ancestor is who he said he was. Number 9, cultural expectations. Being an Italian American does not mean that I am up to snuff on all of the Italian cultural and nonverbal things. For example, recently I talked with a gentleman who had started his dual citizenship process here in Italy. And I said, well, how's it going? He said, you know, when I walk into the comune, they kind of look me up and down and they look like they're like kind of mad at me. And I was like, oh, I said, well, what are you wearing? He goes, oh, well, you know, I take a shower and, you know, I like to run. So I just go over in my t-shirt and shorts. And I was like, so this is a great example of a cultural expectation. When you walk into a government office, you want your dress to say that I respect you as a government official and I am here, you know, representing myself in the best way possible. So ladies, if you're coming over here and you think you can dress like it's Walmart at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's not going to bode well for you. Get a little lip gloss, throw on a pair of earrings, wear a nice shirt. Guys wear nice slacks. Men don't usually wear shorts here, at least in Sicily, and put on a polo shirt at the least. The idea is dress to impress, but don't go overboard. Show them that you mean business and that you take them seriously. If you're interested in more culture shock things like this, I would recommend checking out the episode that I'll put in the link below called Culture Shock, where I tripped over myself so many times with different cultural faux pas that I didn't know existed until it was too late. Definitely a humbling situation. Number 10, feeling like an outsider. I really, over the time that I've been here, made many, many friends and even met distant relatives that I didn't even know existed, like my 102-year-old cousin Carmela, who is my first cousin 2 generations removed. And what a blessing that was to meet her and to get to know her family. But the reality is this for me. When I first came here to Cacamo, Sicily, a medieval mountain village of 8,000 people, people were tentatively curious about who I was and why I was here. This kind of promoted for me feelings of being an outsider and that one of these things is not like the other. It was challenging to feel like I didn't really belong. Now, I've heard other Italian Americans who've come here on vacation and said they felt welcomed with open arms and so on and so forth. In my experience, That absolutely came, but only after I proved myself. I had to prove myself through working on my language skills, and I had to prove myself by really adapting quickly to the cultural norms in the town in which I lived. Fortunately for me, when I finally got my dual citizenship recognized, people were congratulating me on the streets. They know me by a first name basis now. And it was just so wonderful to finally feel like that mission was accomplished and that I wasn't just an outsider, but rather I was a part of a bigger family here in Italy. So, would I do it all over again? The answer is yes, but because of my personal reasons for doing it. I would like to share now with you some of the reasons I would not recommend pursuing dual citizenship through Jure Sanguini. Number one, if you are solely doing it for Italian pride but have no interest in traveling to Italy, learning the language, investing in the country, or passing it on to loved ones. To me, that is a very, very expensive gift to give to oneself if there's no real tangible motivation to have it. Just a personal opinion. Number two, if you think you can pass on your dual citizenship to your children over 18. The answer is unfortunately no. Your children, who are not minors but rather adults, will have to do the process themselves starting as an adult. Children under 17 can be grandfathered into the process with the addition of a couple of extra documents that you would need to present to the Comune or to the Consulate. Number three, if you don't plan on traveling long-term in Italy, Americans have built into their current passports the opportunity to live in Italy for up to 3 months at a time. So if you're thinking, I want to go visit Italy for a month in 2025, I need dual citizenship, no, you don't. Save yourself the aggravation. Just come on over, stay in an Airbnb, enjoy the pasta and pizza, and leave with your blue US passport. Everything's going to be fine. Number four, if you have major financial restraints to do this process, I would not recommend pursuing this because it is expensive, time-consuming, and there are hidden costs you may not know about when you begin the process. I've talked to people who have said that they have spent over $15,000 start to finish on everything from collecting documents, getting lawyers, dealing with bureaucracy, moving to Italy, paying for things, travel expenses. This is not cheap to do. So those of you who might be thinking, oh, wow, I just spent $30 on Ancestry.com to get a spreadsheet. Guys, it's going to cost a lot of money to do this. Everyone's different. Everyone's experience is different and bloodline is different. I can say with confidence that this process for many people costs in the thousands of dollars, depending upon your situation. I'm going to add in the comments section another video I produced simply called, Am I Crazy to Leave My Family in America to Pursue Dual Citizenship Here? And I really just go through, here are some of the great reasons to really do this. If you fall into these categories, I think it's a great idea. I'd like to finish this video by talking about the feeling I had getting my dual citizenship recognized a few weeks ago. Even up until the day that I got the citizenship recognized, I was still questioning if it was actually going to happen. This has been such an arduous process with so many hoops and challenges and frustrations that I kind of always held it in my mind at arm's length. When I sat in the mayor's office and he read the decree to me of my own dual citizenship and how I have a right to it by blood, going through to my original ancestor and him saying his name out loud, Giovanni Anselmo, he is the conduit from whence you came. And through him, your dual citizenship is recognized, not only for you, Kristen, but for your children and your children's children.
Il sindaco ha accertato che in data 11 settembre 2024 si è presentata presso questo ufficio la signora Kristen Michelle Anselmo, cittadina statunitense, nata il 2
I am not an emotional girl. I don't cry at movies. I don't get worked up about like reading a book. I'm just not built sentimentally that way. But When he read that out loud, I got choked up because I realized the power that this experience has had for me, from my own identity, for the opportunities for perks and benefits related to having dual citizenship, my son being able to go to college for a fraction of the cost that it would in the US by going to a European university, the medical care, the opportunities to travel more freely, to invest overseas. For me, the perks and benefits were worth the aggravation, but most of all, knowing that my own identity, who I am as a human being, and knowing that it originates from this town that I'm sitting in right now, and through my dual citizenship by blood, was a powerful, powerful thing for me, and one that I will not soon forget. This is a memory that will be something I take to my grave with me. Such a special time of self-discovery for me. I want to encourage you today. If you are considering dual citizenship through Jure Sanguini, and you feel that this is something that is in your best interest, your family's interest, I say go for it, guys. Get ready to be tenacious. Get ready to have your patience hat on. Get ready to have that credit card ready because you're going to use it. At the end of the day, remember that we are who we are by blood, no matter what the passport says. And we can have confidence in who we are as a human being, no matter what our background is. So what's next for me? Getting my passport appointment, going to my passport appointment, getting my passport several weeks later, traveling back to the United States, going through the consulate to finalize my son's identity card and passport, and then big plans after that. I am so excited to announce in a few weeks what our plan is moving forward with this channel, Anywhere with Kristen, and where I'm going to be taking you guys in the very near future.